So just looking at the mini map, you can tell what happened in this game. In TvT, TvT is a matchup where you can't really kill each other. It's also a matchup where slow-paced battles are all the rage. Like even if you're dying over the course of the next 2 minutes. You're not dying instantly. And so that makes greed extremely valuable in TvT. Uh, because like in this game, for example, Stasis takes a quick early third, and that's going to put him behind, like way behind on army size early on. But that doesn't matter because he knows you're not doing a 1-1-1 tank push, and even if you do push out at 10 minutes and try to kill him, you might kill his natural. It'll take you a damn long time, but as soon as he gets a siege tank out, he's immune to any sort of traditional murder. Also, even if he is vulnerable to dying, what are the odds specifically that he's gonna die? Most TvTs, there's no fighting whatsoever except for drops for the first 13 or 14 minutes. So taking a quick third is a really good move in TvT, especially if you can keep it hidden. And then he takes a fourth, and then he takes a fifth. This sort of continually throwing down new command centers is a very popular style in TvT, and it works really well because all you're doing is saying, okay, I'm going to pick an amount of army per minute that I can get that's like a traditional amount. So 500 a minute until 8 minutes, and then 750 after that. And then I'm just going to keep making $750 a minute of army all game from 7 minutes on. And every time I have more than 400 minerals, I'm going to throw down another command center and another command center and another command center and just take over the entire map if my opponent doesn't stop me. And if my opponent does stop me, it's still 2 base versus 2 base. Even if you knock down all of these bases, he's still on even footing with you. And he might have a smaller army in the immediate term, but because of bunkers and siege mode and turret rings, you can't kill him. So eventually, you're going to be on even footing. You're never going to get a huge lead by knocking down hidden expansions. Also, in the crazy early game, taking a hidden expansion is good because as soon as the CC finishes, it can float away if it needs to. So there's not that huge of a risk. I'm not necessarily saying you should hide command centers. I'm saying you should scout for hidden command centers because this type of greedy play is crazy common in TvT. I'm also saying that after a certain point, unless you have a specific plan to actually attack him, you need to be taking command centers every time your minerals get above 400. So right now you have 2,000 minerals. You should have 2 or 3 more command centers. Honestly, you should have pre-made additional Raxes and additional factories so that you never got to this point. But if you look up and you see, oh my gosh, I've accidentally supply blocked and gone to 2,000 minerals, throw down command centers, man. In TvT, after the 14-minute mark, after the 12-minute mark, you should constantly be adding command centers all game long. Because, again, nobody can kill the other guy, so just having a huge income becomes a really great way to get an advantage. In this fight, it doesn't even matter what happens in this fight. Like, you actually manage to clean him up and trade basically evenly. But if you look back at what's going on behind it, he's got 5 bases, and he's mining a ton of gas, and he's producing a ton of units. And army spent is up to 7,000. Actually, 7,000 is pretty low. 7,000 is pretty standard for him to have made. But he made the standard amount of army, and he has 5 bases. It's not like getting 5 bases gave him a bigger army. It's just that he's much harder to kill, because you're more likely to want to go clean up these bases than to attack his main. And then his pretty terrible macro that is just pumping out units he's got the money, the gas especially behind it, to just keep pumping units forever. So you're in a position that's kind of like unwinnable. And this is exactly what the end of the last game I looked like. TvT is all about getting to a point where you can't be killed, and then throwing down more and more command centers. There are good timings where you can do a drop and do some damage, and then trade armies, and then trade armies again, and then actually win. But in most cases, TvT is going to come down to who starves the other guy out, and you can't be starved out nearly as easily if you have a billion bases. Anyway.